It's the Blake Sloan Real Estate Show. He's been featured in Forbes Magazine, the Wall Street Journal, Realtor Magazine, and many other national publications. He's been on Fox News, ABC, and NBC. He's endorsed by Barbara Corcoran, Sean Hannity, and Glenn Beck. It's a truly amazing story. Industry leaders have dubbed him the real estate whiz kid. Here's Blake Sloan and the Blake Sloan Real Estate Show.
Good afternoon, everyone. Blake Sloan here. Welcome to the Blake Sloan Real Estate Show. Got brand new show, tons of great information, and some huge news in the real estate market here locally. And we'll talk about today's show, the micro market. A lot of times we talk about the macro market, which is like, hey, what's going on in the Grand Strand from Brunswick County to all of Horry County, Georgetown County, inland to Marion, all those areas dealing. We can't handle that. That's kind of our Grand Strand market. But today we'll talk about the micro market. This is where I get the most feedback on. Everybody's like, what's my zip code doing? What's my neighborhood doing? There's huge swings. Some saw a 14, 15% decrease in sales. Some saw a 20+% increase in sales just last month. So we'll talk about that and really look at how does your area stack up. And it's really important to have that type of data because you want to make better decisions. And so if you don't have that type of data or your agent doesn't have the type of data, you may or may not be able as aggressive as you want to on the back end. So look at that. We'll also look at some national numbers. And there's some good news out there last month nationally, which is good. We also had a little bit last week we talked about that was not so great news, but we'll talk about a little bit both of that. It's kind of promising. I've been tracking the weekly pending deals every day, like we talked about with my team, and it's up this past week, which is great. Over 700 home sales a week, which has been great in terms of especially this time of year. We'll talk about kind of what's going on with that overall, and also we were talking about interest rates. Took another jump this week, big jump in interest rates. We're seeing that continually climb, up from where it was last week, which is interesting. There's still some great time to get in though this last quarter before you see a shift, before weather gets too much different. So we'll talk about that. We're going to get some people who have this for some reason we call it holiday brain. They say wait till after the holidays. Wait till after the holidays. It's my team jokes about it. About the time you get between November 15th to the 25th, everybody wait till the holidays or wait for 2 days. They'll waste 2.5 months, but it's wild, man. And I tell you. This may not be the year to do so with interest rates skyrocketing, compared to the way they were. And so we'll just talk about that a little bit. We also have some amazing success stories. What I'm very, very, very proud of. We got one of this lady, $80,000 more dollars than the highest offer she got from this investor. She had a bunch of investors she talked to. Her highest one, we got her $80,000 more dollars for her property. Within 2 days, and we did it on 2 days on purpose. So we'll talk about that just because that's a mistake that people make. And if she wouldn't have reached out to us, she literally could have cost herself and would have cost herself $80,000. And so that's a feel-good story that I'm very proud of. Our team's been absolutely crushing it. We're right almost at 30 homes this past week sold or under contract, which is pretty cool. Overall, if we have time a little bit, we'll just discuss a little bit part of why we're still seeing the inventory shortage, which is important. And last thing, my team, we're hiring fast thinking, forward thinking, high level of service people that want to serve at a high level. We got amazing success stories on our team. Agents of ours are doing very, very well. We have agents from other brokerages that come to our brokerage and their career skyrockets. And we're very, very happy about that. So if you want to know more about that, we'll talk about that here at the end of the show.
Realtor Magazine, and many other national publications. He's been personally endorsed by Sean Hannity and Glenn Beck, and one of those by itself is quite the accomplishment. But all of them together is unprecedented. Now, last week we learned a little more about Blake and how his team works and how a good portion of his success has come from the trademark systems that he developed to help both buyers and sellers here in our market. Blake, real quick, can you recap quickly for anyone new to the show what those are exactly and a quick overview of how they work?
Yes, and that's just the whole why we do this show, and also my other show on a different station is just because no matter how affluent they are, no matter how many homes they've sold, no matter how much experience they have in the world, they seem to make the same mistake over and over and over and over again. Even listeners that listen to the show, even people that are on the radio, all kind of stuff we see all the time is they make this huge mistake of thinking that all real estate agents are the same, and it could not be further from the truth. And so the reality is just like any doctor, any lawyer. And I just want to remind that because it comes down to so much difference. Like this example with $80,000, people make huge mistakes, right? If I'm charged with a crime I did not commit. And I want to make sure that obviously I'm going to get a good result, that I'm not going to use my friend who's an attorney who only had 3 or 4 cases last year, right? I want the absolute most aggressive, the absolute best, the most intuitive attorney who can represent me to make sure I get the outcome I desire. But this, for some reason, they'll go list their home with a friend who sold 3 or 4 houses last year, or even none at all. And we see that in our other success story today. We'll talk about that, where someone had their house listed with their friend. It looked like it was a dungeon, did not sell. Thankfully, they referred to us after did not sell. We came in, blew it up, massive traffic, under contract, almost full price. And so the reality is, here's the deal. In selling a property, the single most important variable that determines your failure or success as a home seller and also a home buyer comes down to one thing only. That thing is the agent you choose, period, right? Not the wall color, not the grass. It has to do with the agent, specifically how they execute. And so the reality is, when you're selling a property, there's 118 different variables from A to Z. How we know that? Because we really track them out, map them out, and then we create a system that's proven repeatable, create maximum leverage every single point. But here's a difference. If any of those variables are dropped by your agent or a single agent at any point, that costs your hard-earned equity, your property potentially not selling, or you may leave a lot of money on the table. And that could be anything from the quality of the photos, the order of the photos. There's a specific order that you put them in to make sure you get the most amount of buyers that click through on them. Could be, does your agent actually answer the telephone? As you know, most of them don't at all. Do they answer web leads online? If they do answer web leads online, how long does it take them to be able to call them back? How much money do they spend in marketing? All these are details that make or break the home sale, but people never ask those questions. And so the reality is, we create a system, like I mentioned, that's proven repeatable, that creates maximum leverage at every single one of those points. And we backed it up with people, aka a team, and technology, software we designed to make sure that we give our client the biggest competitive advantage possible by managing those variables proactively. And so it's called the Guaranteed Sold System, the only proven system, so it's twice as fast and for up to 200% more money than traditional methods. And it works very, very, very well. On the flip side, there's 100 plus variables right now for buyers. It's very difficult right now for buyers. And so Glenn talked a few weeks ago about his friend who was having difficulty trying properties, couldn't get them. Experience matters right now. And so we create a system for buyers out there called the Unfair Advantage Home Buying System. Get your property access to foreclosures, distress sales, desperate sellers, the absolute best negotiation and purchase price, as well as home inspection negotiation to get you to the closing table successfully. And so that's something that's needed. And you have to have, someone who can manage these. And one thing I haven't really talked about in a while is just the reality of it being impossible for one single person to juggle all 108 different balls on one listing. Not to mention if they got 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 listings, it's virtually, literally impossible for one, even 2 people to be able to do those, effectively. And so it's like having the same person at McDonald's do the front register, the draft, and the French fries at the same time. It's not going to be a great food experience, and it's not going to be a great real estate experience for you either if you're allowing one agent to try to do all of that and get to the outcome that you desire. And so that's something we talk about every week. The show's based around that. We can give you all the real estate advice in the world if you want, but if you don't understand that piece, it's really going to cost you on the back end. So if you want to know more about that, how those systems work, how our team does, reach out, call me, 843-808-SOLD, or you can go to blakesloan.com, blakesloan.com. Not sure how much longer we got this segment. I didn't keep that 2 minutes in that scenario. I'll talk really quick, just interest rates. We'll get to the home numbers in a minute. Interest rates are interesting. They're on the rise. And so that's one thing that is important. A 30-year fixed rate last week's show was 3.14%. Like before that was 3.15. That same week it was 3.18. You can see the track record here. Just a few weeks ago, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks ago, 2.93%. Right now, it's a 30 years, 3.23%. That's a significant jump right there, which is interesting to see. And so even from Thursday to Friday, it jumped up from 3.19 to 3.23. You obviously can see what's happening, right? On the 15-year fixed rate, 2.60%. And also a 30-year FHA, 2.87%, a jumbo loan, 3.15%, and a 5-year adjust rate mortgage, 3.10%. And so the bottom line is money's getting more expensive, right? And so what that means if I'm a home seller is that there's going to be less buyers who can afford my house, less buyers who are likely to afford my house. And so you want to keep that in mind, both sides of the coin. We have a lot of our sellers who are looking to downsize, looking to move laterally somewhere else, looking to move to a different area. And you want to keep that in mind. The longer you wait, the more it's going to cost, especially through the holidays. It costs you significantly more money. We have a great client of mine, Scott, who's a friend of mine. He wanted to downsize. He had a house here in it's off Forest Brook, great house in a new neighborhood. And he said, man, I want to downsize, too much for me and my wife. And next thing you know, he starts looking. They get a house way bigger in a different neighborhood. And we close on his house, both his houses the same day, simultaneously, back-to-back closings to a larger house. So that he's like, dude, I don't know how we got a bigger house out of this, but it works like that every time. So take a quick break. We'll be right back in here in a minute. What's the next segment? How long? 10 minutes or I forgot to put a timer on.
That's okay. Yeah, do this with 10, and I'll do Gary Laval. Gary, his endorsement.
All right.
Woo! Right, so that was Barbara. All right. You want to do hot buyers coming back?
Yes, sir. No. I gotta do my real estate update real quick. Okay. Then we'll hop right into that, I guess, depending on time. Welcome back to Blake Sloan Real Estate Show. Got some brand new market numbers here for you. And interesting, we'll talk about micro market here in a second. Just a quick recap for anyone that missed the overall macro market last week. And so it was interesting because it's our first year versus year decline when you're looking at the same month that we had in a while. So here's the deal. Sales last month from September, obviously it's always in arrears. We'll have the brand new ones out next week, which should be great. But it was down 8%. Right now it's showing down 6.5% because it's real-time data. Agents are slack sometimes. Back to I was telling you about the agent who was at McDonald's doing their front register and the drive-thru and their french fries. That's what caused them to update their sales 20 plus days later. So anyways, negative 6.5% in terms of the market. And so what does that mean? Well, there's 678 home sales last month. If you go back, though, to the peak of this year, June was 797. So went from June down to July, significant decline from 797 to 653, then to 662. And then right now we're back to 678, which is great. Some of those numbers had improved. We were kind of showing decline, but some of that data got updated, which is helpful. So right now, 678 home sales. But the problem is, we're over 120 different per month than we were just a few months ago. And so the one thing I've been tracking, which is really helpful, we'll talk about in a second, is pending deals. That's been very, very good because in essence, if you look at, last 7 days, over 700 plus home sales under contract, which is great. $217 million in real estate went under contract the last 7 days, which is huge. We're seeing a big trend right now in investment properties. Big money from out of areas buying multifamily near the ocean. A small hotel just got bought for $5 million this week. Another $2 million on the ocean front, and a triplex right at $1.8 million right next to the ocean on 76th Avenue. Just went under contract this week too. So a lot of big money is coming in. Out of town, you're seeing, like I mentioned before, a lot of people who've been sitting on properties for a long time, cashing out a little bit, taking some of those chips off the table, right? Because everyone's not really sure how long that party will last, but very, very interesting to say the least. Now, what's also important looking at price. So prices right now for average sale price, a new record, which is phenomenal, up 17.2% from the same time last year, 416,890, which is fantastic. That's a new record. Like I said, growing up here, I never thought we'd see 416,000. This crazy, man. I saw today. We closed a house I sold it in 2012 as a foreclosure. We sold the buyer, resold it. I think right then it was 69,000, sold for 174 this week. We resold it again. Isn't that crazy? So 100 grand extra, whatever that is, 11 years, not too bad in that return. But we're seeing difference that in some areas, Myrtle Beach for the micro market went up 100 grand last year in 1 year. We'll talk about that in a second. Median price, 20.1% increase in median price from the same month last year. The only thing you watch out a little bit is we're seeing a 3-month plateau in terms of median price. So, for example, this month, 325 even. Last month, August, 325. And then July, 324, 750. So the last 3 months, the median price has only gone up $250. So keep that in mind. That does just show we may be hitting a little bit of a ceiling in terms of affordability here. Glenn, I talked about that before. It's just getting really hard for anybody, that works here, is not bringing money in from somewhere else to afford the housing costs, specifically rentals or two, in that scenario. So we'll talk about that as well. Months of supply is what's keeping that price up, which is great. We're in a super seller's market still. We're in very, very, very low, critically low inventory. It's really crisis mode. If you look at really how to address it. Right now, we're at 51.7% decrease of amount of homes for sale than the same time last year. Right now, it's huge, right? 51% less homes available. Obviously, a tremendous amount of sellers. We're almost the same amount of buyers. 1.4 months. There is more inventory than there was just a few months ago. In May, we were hovering at 1.1 months of inventory, which is good. I checked this morning. There's 574 single-family home sales available in Horry County. If you remember a few months ago, it was like 360, 370. So we're seeing a little more out there, which is great. It's still 1.4 months inventory. What does that mean? It means it's a super seller's market. If you're thinking about selling, you have the advantage. So anything less than 6 months, the seller has the advantage. You can tell we're significantly less than that, which is important from that standpoint as well. Now, really quick, we're going to jump into the one thing the showings per listing was a key point I wanted to hit really quick. So right now there's 6.8 showings per listing, which is up 30.8% from last year. Great news, right? But if you look at the trend, of the highest point this year is April 2021, 8.2 showings per listing. Great. Well, then May 7.8, June 7.4, July 7.2, August 7.2, and then another drop here to 6.8. So there is less buyers, part of that's buyer fatigue, part of that's buyers who bought earlier in the year who normally wouldn't. Remember I was telling you before, first, second quarter had a lot of pain. Feels like this year has been 2 years, really, in terms of all the ups and downs, the lockdowns, no lockdowns, all that stuff. And so that's something interesting to say the least. Now, I'm going to jump in really quick. I'm going to fly through this piece. This is what I get the most feedback on when I talk to people about the show is the micro market, because everybody's like, hey, what's my area doing? What's my zip code doing? But obviously, it's the hardest part for me to do on radio because I got to fly through it. So Myrtle Beach zip code 29572, 29577. Closed sales declined last month, down 1.1%, which is interesting. But here's the cool part. Median price. This is almost a record here. 31.2% increase in terms of median price. Now, check this out. Last September in Myrtle Beach, $320,000 for the median price. Pretty good, right? Right now, $419,950. $50 from $100,000 increase in terms of extra equity, which is pretty strong, right? So that's pretty awesome right there. From that scenario, 100 grand a year, we're seeing that all over the place. And in terms of that inventory for Myrtle Beach, down 45.5%. Very interesting numbers too in condos. They kind of dominate the condo market in Myrtle Beach because there's just so many condos and condo tails. Their closed sales for condos up 39.2% from last year. Huge jump in condos. Median price up 9.4% from 153 to 168. Now, here's a crazy number. Why I want to bring it up. Inventory for condos in Myrtle Beach down 75.2%. Check this out. Inventory last year, 1,185 condos. How many do you think right now?
200?
Yeah, 294. Isn't that crazy? Insanity. I think there's over 1,000 there before, and now we're here with only 294. And what happened was the housing prices went up, $100,000 jump like you saw. Then everyone ran to condos. Then guess what? They bought up all the condos, and we've had a lot of retirees, who just been priced out. They waited through COVID. They want to wait till they could travel again. Boom, they get priced out of the market, and they literally can't buy here anymore. And we've had that conversation with dozens and dozens and dozens of people from across the country. So very interesting to say the least. North Myrtle Beach, 582. Closed sales down. They were one of the biggest losers in terms of year versus year, down 17.7% in terms of sales. That was an interesting number for me. Median price up 24.7% from 389 to 485, which is great. Inventory down 43.3%, which is interesting there, from 233 to 132. Little River, sales up 4.1%. They're a huge winner in terms of price. Check this out. Their price is up 40.7% in Little River. So 245 to 344, 679. So $100,000 jump right there, which is awesome. That's why it's so important for you to have an agent who understands the data, who has the data. Most agents can't afford to even purchase the data, right? Make sure you have someone who understands it at a high level so you can create your strategy based on the real-time micro market data. If you don't realize there's 40% increase in prices and you're looking at Zillow or something online, which most agents, do that, you're going to misprice a property and cost yourself a lot of money. And so that's very important to understand from that scenario as well. That's very important. Looking into Loris and Longs, flat sales identical. So last year, 76 sales. This year, 76 sales in September, which is interesting. But the great news is median price is up 34.9%. 189 last year to 255 right now. Properties in Loris and Longs, this is crazy, are selling at an average of 100.1%. So all over asking price for average in Loris and Long, which is, usually a more rural, now it's like the new hotspot everybody's going to in terms of easy access, everything else. Exactly right. And so it's a great area. You're seeing that's probably one of the fastest growing areas I've seen in terms of new construction, people moving there. We had our fire marshal inspector yesterday, and he lived, off of 90 out there. We've been selling a lot out there lately. So Conway, closed sales in Conway up 3.6% in that scenario. Prices in Conway, though, up 27.9%. Right now in Conway, check this out. This is awesome. $269 for median price in Conway, which is, crazy. I mean, all day, every day, you take them 150 all day, Last year, the median price, $210. Inventory in Conway is down 48%. So the same thing there. Carolina Forest, you're seeing a decline, down 3.4% in terms of sales. Also, you're looking at prices up 29%. 306 at 394, 671. And here's why. Inventory down 49.3%. Last year, there are 298 homes for sale. Right now, 151. They're all selling on average over asking price. And so I guess we can take a quick break, right? Take a quick break. I got 2 or 3 more areas to go. We'll talk about that and have a hot buyer alert after this quick break.
That's why in Myrtle Beach, I can tell you that Blake Sloan of Sloan Realty Group markets your home on a whole different level. Now listen, Blake is so confident in his ability to sell your home quickly and for more money that he guarantees to sell it or he'll buy it himself. If you're moving on, trust Blake to provide your family a stress-free home sale experience. Find Blake Sloan online at blakesloan.com or you can call him at 843-808 sold. Stop acting. Stop acting. You got to have a housing. I need Lizzie's. Bracelet.
10 minutes on this one?
What do you say?
10 minutes?
Yeah. What do you have there, though? Why is it 127? She must not have kept her solid. Yeah, she did not. That's what it is. Stop acting. All right, here we go. Let's see. Welcome back to the Blake Sloan Real Estate Show. It's a hot buyers alert, and these are hot. Blake and his team are working with a ridiculous amount of home buyers who are looking for homes in the Myrtle Beach area from $150,000 to $3.5 million or more. If you're thinking of selling, please contact Blake immediately at 843-808-SOLD. That's 843-808-SOLD.
Yes, and that's one thing that's important, Alice. Here, always kind of just lay it out there. We like we call it facts, not promises. Here, we always show, hey, look, how many actual buyers do we have right now? And show Glenn every week. Here's how many real active buyers we have this week, real time. What we got?
64,811 active home buyers.
Yes, username, password, account. So a lot of people, they tend to basically what they'll do is they'll wait till they get a sign. They put the sign in the yard. That's when your agent starts marketing, right? If they do anything, guess what they usually do? They just put it to MLS, and that's about it. So the main difference in what we do, and I get this question all the time, like, hey, what makes you any different than the other agent? We're outspending them 100 to 1 on average, the average agent, spending tens and tens and tens of thousands of dollars every month driving traffic from all over the globe, specifically the Northeast. And so what it is we're able to have what we call buyers in waiting. And so with that, so we're able to have buyers who, these 64,811, they're working with my buyer team. We have 20 plus buyers experts that work with buyers all day, every day. Their job's to serve them at the highest level, follow up with them, nurture them, help them find their home. Now, I'm obviously in business to make money, and my job is to sell houses, from our sellers to our buyers and vice versa. And so we're obviously going to share that with them. But what we did is we created an algorithm that takes any new listing, specifically our seller client, and reverse engineers the most likely buyer for that property based on their previous search patterns. And so it's very, very high level technology. But like right now on the site, we have Gail from Southfield, Michigan. She's got 2 favorite properties right now. We got Denise and Sydney Wiley from North Carolina. We got Shiley from Charlotte, North Carolina. I got Joseph from Salem, Ohio. I got Williamsport, PA, Lawrenceville, Georgia. I got Stafford, VA, Belmore, New York, Asheville, North Carolina. Here we go. Daniel Hunsoon, New York. We get a lot of New York. Big connection there with Barbara Corcoran. Augusta, Georgia, Richmond, Virginia, Ann Arbor, Michigan, Wurtsboro, New York. Not familiar with that one. I was trying to find some crazy ones we have here. Here you go. Sacramento, California. And that's Lawrence Ritter. He's on here. He's got 7 favorite properties right now currently, and he's literally on the site searching for the last 26 minutes. So big time data, right? Oh, here's another one. San Dimas, California. Not sure. Romano Galassi, 5 favorites. And I got Jim Bowden from Indianapolis, Indiana. So why do I share that? Because these are real people with username and password. When we sit down with the client for a consultation, we just don't promise you things. We just show you, here's the facts. Here's what we got. You can watch them search real time. And, oh, yeah, here's how you match them up, reverse engineer them for your property. And so that's the biggest difference. And that's the power of having somebody, the true organization with a team of specialists versus an old school cassette tape type agent. We shared this in the past, right? The biggest difference is our business model. Our business model allows me to outspend the average agent because we're very good at conversion. Best case scenario, we can sell these buyers, to our seller's home. Worst case scenario, we're going to sell them something else in the MLS. And so we serve them either way, but it makes a big difference when you have a team of people who are pushing and helping making sure that we're able to actually get the job done. It's just the facts of the business that people don't wrap their head around, where if I'm a single agent, which I was before, you're juggling all these balls. They may or may not have an assistant or a husband or a wife, and they're just trying to basically play the whack-a-mole game. They get whatever's out there, the squeaky wheel, so to speak. They just throw the properties in MLS. You know what they do? They beat the seller down on price until someone else brings a buyer. I watch this. There's coaches out there who train on that. There's people that cold call you. They get the phone, they get you, they tell you a price, get you a high price, give you like a low commission. And then what they do is there's scripts they have. They just beat the price down, beat the price down, beat the price down. And what you know when you run their numbers is the majority of their listings are sold by buyers from other companies. Why is that? Because they're spending all day cold calling. They don't have time to actually sell the property. And so that's the problem with that model, is that there all comes down to business model. But once you're able to sit down and understand it, and we take our clients, we literally draw it out on paper. Here's how the models work. Here's how we work. And here's how we have a team of specialists versus a journalist who's trying to do everything. That's how we're able to make sure we get that part done. We have listing coordinator, 2 different closing coordinators, one for buyers, one for sellers, to make sure every T's crossed, every I's dotted, no deadlines are missed, you're updated. One of the biggest complaints we get from clients from previous scenarios, we always ask them, hey, what was the biggest frustration you had in your last home sale, home purchase? And the biggest one we hear is communication. Well, I never heard from an agent, never heard anything. I was, in the dark, so to speak. And so we have people who keep you updated A to Z. Very first time they list, we have a listing coordinator, calls, gives an update, does a preview, all this stuff gets listed. We give weekly feedback. And then all of a sudden goes under contract. We keep you in the loop the whole time. So those details matter. And so the reason I share that is the agent you choose, the team you choose, the business model they use makes a massive difference in terms of your success and the amount of money you put in your pocket. So if you know anyone that's thinking about selling, that smells like they're selling, that's even mentioned the word real estate, do me a favor, say, look, you got to call my buddy Blake, 843-808-SOLD. Save me in your telephone, right? And just give them my number, 843-808-SOLD. We're hustling all day, every day. You day and night, you call us. We'll make sure that somebody there answers that phone and gets you taken care of. Myself. We have a full-time VIP concierge for sellers. Anybody off the show, you see my right-hand man, Joe. Joe's been on the show a few times. He's literally sits 6 feet from me, and he sets up our consultation, gets all the information, but he's there to serve at the highest level, which is awesome. So, yeah.
With such a low inventory, and it's harder for agents to get listings, so I would call maybe some of the realtors out there struggling agents.
Yeah.
And do you really want a struggling agent? You want that person that's got the perfection, the system, like you do,
Yes.
instead of somebody that is struggling now, because they're going to do what you just said. They're going to keep knocking that price down so they get that house sold, so they can get their commission.
Oh, it's fascinating. We call it selling from scarcity. So anytime they're in scarcity, they're just trying to worry about how to pay their rent next month, right? Average agent or MLS sells 4 homes a year. There's not a whole lot of money to eat with.
And right now, 4 homes,
Yeah.
that's probably not much of them. Maybe it's 1 or 2.
Right, which is because there's an increase of agents massively, right? And so we watch it all day because we do 30 deals a week in terms of under contract, and they'll throw their client under the bus in 2 seconds. We'll put them on speakerphone and just laugh. I mean, literally, because you just watch them. They're so desperate. You can feel it in their voice. You can feel it in the way they talk to you. And so the most of them only negotiated a couple of deals the last 12 months. So that's the problem, is they'll just, oh yeah, my seller will take 200,000 right now. Meanwhile, our buyer would have paid 220, and it happens every single day behind the scenes that you don't even know about. So that's a great point. And bring me just a quick success story. I call this $80,000 more. Super cool story. Melissa was in a very tough situation, needed to sell ASAP. She was behind on payments. The home also needed a lot of work. She was afraid that no one will purchase a home in the current condition. So she reached out to those local investor websites and locals investors here. They have multiple came in, lowball her, offering her very low money. Thankfully, she was referred to us by someone online. Not sure who that was. We came in and showed how we could immediately get her way more money and sell it quickly as is, meaning not do anything to it. So the as is basically means she just sells it as it is. We created a custom marketing plan. I came in, changed it up a little bit, and basically we kind of created this auction effect. Within 2 days, we launched a global marketing blitz. Within 2 days, 18 offers. Melissa accepted an offer $20,000 above asking price. Here's the deal. $80,000 more than the highest investor offered her, that she almost took because she was desperate. And guess what? They're vultures who will take advantage of you and have no problem making you think they did you a favor. And so with us, right, we have licenses. Those investors aren't licensed. They don't. If they did, they lose it, right? So the reality is, we're here to help make sure that you have your best interest. But a lot of people, they put their head in the sand. If you're having trouble, reach out to me, man. We can put $80,000 more in your pocket, just like this same scenario. This is real life this past week. So super important. Like these people, like this, it means a lot to me. Like, because this just shows, like, hey, look, we just put 80 grand. That's life changing for people, right? Tom also had this is the other one. Tom had a unique property in Surfside listed with a quote friend for many months. They barely had any traffic. The photos were terrible. Looked like they were taken from a dungeon in a cell phone. Right. Bottom line is they were super frustrated. Thankfully, they found out about us from Amazing Radio Listener, and we came in, identified the problem, marketing, designed a custom plan, launched global marketing blitz, professional photos, drove massive traffic, and had an amazing offer, almost full price. Here's the cool part, though, is that we put maximum equity in his pocket, but Tom loved our virtual reality walkthrough. He worked at home and kids were homeschooled. And so he was so thankful that people almost did all the full tour. So the buyers that came in, Tom felt the virtual tour qualified buyers even more before they came into his house. And so that was super true. We've seen that when we bring buyers in, they're serious. They've seen it online virtually already. And so we're ahead of the curve. And so if you want to know more about that, reach out, give us a call, 843-808-SOLD, also blakesloan.com. But the best way, just save me in your phone, tell your friends, anybody, don't let them be a horror story. Thankfully, these two were turned around and got absolute top dollar. Don't make that $80,000 mistake like Melissa almost fell into.
Are they still friends?
I don't know. I doubt it. I highly doubt it. Yeah.
That's what we talked about week after week. This is not about friendship.
No.
This is not about, your neighbor. This is business.
100%.
This is your bank account.
Yeah. I mean, look, they had no clue the photos were so bad. We showed them, and they were just appalled at what was happening.
Wow. what people do.
Yep.
And you see those signs. We'll talk about maybe we take that for housing.
Yes. Let's talk about that in a few minutes.
All right. We'll be right back with more of the Blake Sloan Real Estate Show right here.
You,
Hold on. I'll cut that out.
all right.
Why would you go to anyone else to list your home other than Blake Sloan? It's beyond me. It is like mind-boggling because Blake Sloan knows how to market your home to get an offer fast. He guarantees that it will be sold or he'll buy it. But not only that, he's going to market it to the right people that are going to give you your hard-earned equity. Don't leave it